Hey, good morning. I don't see many people in here, and that's okay because this is sort of a spur of the moment. I kept waiting and waiting to decide about this trial to see if I would go live or not about it and cover it, and I decided to. So it's cool. I'm just going to go right into the trial. It's already been like super contentious between the witnesses, mainly on cross-examination. So yeah, hold on, just give me 1 second to start the coverage, and I'll just wait for people to join.
Yesterday said he never got out of the
My
country.
personal opinion is he did.
But the FBI said he didn't, right?
We cannot find any record of him doing
Sir,
it.
the FBI said he didn't, right?
We did not find any record of him doing it.
I went ahead and turned the closed captions on for everybody, just because they're all testifying with masks,
Following up
and
on local tips, yes.
everybody in the courtroom is wearing masks, so it's a little hard to hear. Let me see about turning up this. It's up as loud as it can go. I suggest wearing earbuds because it's kind of hard to hear. I don't know who my other person that is that's watching, but welcome. Thank you for being here. What happened here? Hopefully I didn't accidentally. Yeah, I sure did. What the heck?
The officer investigator Hazard would have done that.
And he did that in your report that you reviewed.
I don't recall.
Okay. If he took the swabs and didn't send them to Swifts, would that be bad? You know what SWIFT is?
I do.
Okay. Would it be bad if somebody took DNA samples and didn't send it there?
I don't know the sample that you're referring to. And
What is,
Why is it doing this? Stop.
can you first tell the jury what SWIFT is?
There we go.
what SWIFT is?
Yes.
Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science. They're the crime lab.
And
The
what do they do?
I don't know if you guys have been
They
watching or
analyze any
keeping up
evidence that
with
we
this,
submit to them.
but I will say this.
And DNA swabs were done and not
Like I
submitted
said, the
to them, right?
cross-examination
I
has
do not
been
recall.
very, very contentious, and it's really been very contentious with
Let's
respect
talk about
to
Joseph
the
Moreno.
crime scene, the way the evidence was
Oh,
collected,
before
the
we
way
get
it
into
was
that, you said
processed.
yesterday that you had
So,
mentioned Laurie Gibbs was the
They're
FBI
they're
agent
really
working
going
with
hard
you
at
on this case.
attacking
Yes, ma'am.
the evidence in this
And Laurie
case.
Gibbs is the one who screwed up when she put honor killing on the first post for this FBI 10's Most Wanted list, right?
No, this was their initial, when they first initially put it on, it was not the 10 most wanted.
But it said honor killing. you
She
said?
told me that she had put honor killing on it. Yes.
And then you asked her to remove it.
And one of
Yes.
the other things that
And
the
you said
defense
yesterday,
is
I believe
attacking
when
is
Zach asked you, that's because Irving didn't
the
believe that that's what it was. Is
sort
that
of
right?
motive for the crime. They
Honor
don't. They
killing is
don't.
something that
They
another
are
culture names
contesting
something.
the use of the
It's a
term
murder.
honor killing, obviously, as you can hear
So
now.
why is honor killing like all throughout
And
the police report?
they basically
why
have,
is
have
it,
sort of laid out a case that
kind of what's
Mr.
discussed?
Said
'Cause
was
you had a lot of
unfairly
connections with
targeted
the media in this.
because of
Yes.
his religion, which is Muslim.
And the media was portraying,
And so they're really just
some of
attacking.
these individuals
I
on
mean,
the
they're doing a
jury
good job. They're doing what a
saw the
defense
news,
attorney
probably,
does,
And are you gonna deny that
advocating
honor
for their
killing
client.
is what was spread all throughout the world about this offense?
Honor killing is something that the media started calling it. The police never called it that.
And when the FBI did, and you were working closely with them on this case, right?
We started working with them in June of 2008.
Oh, and that's actually when Ms. Gibbs told you you had the wrong social security number for Mr. Said, is that right?
I believe she told me she found another one. Yes.
No, she said you guys had the wrong one.
Okay.
You said that it was the wrong one. So after about, I think, 8 weeks of being on the case, you finally figured out that you had the wrong social for your main suspect. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Let's talk about Joseph Moreno. You know about him, right?
Yes.
And there was a plan about him
Welcome to
going
everybody
Vegas
just joining.
on January
Thanks for being
2nd when
here.
he saw Amina to get married. Is that correct?
I don't recall that.
Did he call you and tell you that he had a plan? Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you get any information in your investigation that informed you of a plan where Amina was going to go with an ex-boyfriend and get married to that gentleman, Joseph Moreno? Objection, hearsay. It's part of his investigation.
I think what we should,
Sustained.
what I'm probably going to do
What
is
did you learn from talking to Joseph Moreno?
tonight maybe go back over the already
When I first heard about Joseph, it was from his mother.
the older,
And then I asked
testimony
Patricia about it.
already
He's
given,
an old
so that we can
boyfriend from
kind
a
of
couple of
catch
years
up, just
before.
in case you're just now
So Patricia told you he's not
following the
current
case with me.
Patricia and
I've been
Islam.
following it, but I haven't been streaming it. But there's
Did
been
you
a
talk
lot,
to him
so I don't want
further
anybody to
about,
miss anything.
any
And I think the
relationship
opening
or
statements are
anything like
important
that
as
with
well. So
Amina?
I
I'll
think
do
I
that
talked to
too.
him later on in the investigation, and I think he was stating that he had talked to her a few days before this, and that he still believed they were in a relationship.
Okay. And his mother confirmed that with you too, right?
Yes.
How many murders have you investigated in your career?
I've been involved in one way or the other, probably over 70.
And how many exonerations have you been involved in?
Objection, Rosenex.
Overruled.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, wow.
Can you explain what an exoneration is to the jury?
I believe you're referring to when someone is found guilty and later discovered that they were innocent.
That's what
And
exoneration
you're
is.
familiar with those, right?
I hear about them, yes.
And they actually do them in all these courtrooms, you know, everybody's smiling about, sorry, we locked you up for 30 years, right?
And the continuing object to this line of questioning is relevant, Your Honor.
Sustained, Ms. Muse. Limit your questioning on this topic.
Thank you, Judge, I'm sorry. And so, how many exonerations has Irving PD had?
Objection, relevant.
Sustained.
How many cases have you investigated that have led to exonerations?
None.
Objection, relevant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Muse, I think you've asked enough on this point.
And Irving didn't even find Mr. Said and Justin, is that right?
Correct.
Another agency did, the FBI?
Correct.
You guys couldn't even find them in Justin, Texas.
Correct. We did not.
Well, so now they're straight attacking competency, which, I mean, this is what defense attorneys do. I wanted to cover this case because it's been a long time coming.
So the night that
It happened in 2008. Mr. Said was on the run for 12 years.
Yes.
The FBI put him on their most wanted. Then they apprehended him, and he's just now being brought to trial.
Correct?
And really, at the heart of the matter, and the reason why Mr. Said is the one that's is on
He
trial
told me
right
about
now
it.
is because there was a 911 call made by Sarah Said, and she said that her dad shot her. Shot them.
I believe he did, yes.
And you didn't take his word for it because it didn't fit your narrative. Is that correct?
I was not following a narrative. I'm following the facts of the case, the evidence.
You didn't follow the
excellent
facts and the evidence, so you guys made a narrative immediately, and that's what you stuck with. And now you guys wasted so many taxpayer dollars.
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
There's a lot of these objections with the argumentative.
Is it your testimony today that these are absolutely not honor killings?
I do not know. I do not have firsthand knowledge of what an honor killing is. There's no such thing as an honor killing. You kill somebody, there's no honor to it. It's a
Oh,
murder. That is another culture's term.
Can you say that last part?
Do what?
Can you repeat that last part?
An honor killing is another culture's term for some type of murder.
Uh-huh.
As far as the police are concerned, the law is concerned, you shoot or kill somebody, it is a murder.
Okay,
There's no
so
honor to it.
you said that you guys told Laurie Gibbs to take down the honor killing thing when the post went up, right?
Yes.
Did you tell all the other people that called you from the media to not say honor killing? I didn't see that in your report.
I cannot tell the media what to say. I only tell the media that we do not call it a honor killing.
I didn't hear them report that anywhere.
I'm not responsible for what they report.
Okay. And
correct. You are not.
it's murder 101 for an investigation, like murder investigation 101, right? To interview all witnesses that were present at the scene of finding the bodies. Is that correct? Like y'all did.
Yes.
And it's also murder investigation 101 to interview the last people that saw the decedent alive.
Are you going to answer?
So the first person that finds the body and the last people to see them alive are suspects in most murder investigations. Is that right?
No.
They're people
And you
you'd want to
consider
talk
that a
to,
proper
but not
investigation?
suspects. My
That's your
goodness.
testimony today.
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Thank you. Any
Wow.
other questions by the state?
No further questions for this witness.
May this witness be released. May this witness be released, Ms. Muse? Ms. Muse, may this witness be released?
Yes, he may be released.
All right. Thank you, Detective.
Oh dear. What's going on at the prosecution table there?
Okay. All right.
Judge had to ask, what, 3 times?
Let's give Ms. Holt a few seconds.
My goodness. Get that person some water. Plus, I lived in Texas when this occurred. And so, and not that far, I mean, you know, in the Metroplex. So I watched all the news coverage of this case, and I've been waiting for a real long time for them to go to trial. And I've also, I watched, you know, several documentaries on this crime, and this case has always kind of been very interesting to me. I don't know what's going on with my chat. I don't know if you guys are watching and just not chatting. Hey, Kezchick, there she is. Good to see you, babe. Thanks for joining us. And I will say before, you know, they haven't really gotten into the, like what we're watching right now, the really nitty gritty testimony, but it is important to understand that I'm going to go ahead and put a trigger warning out there for everyone. This is, you know, it's a sad case. These girls were teenagers. They were young and allegedly, you know, shot in a taxi cab by their father. And so I'm sure that the testimony is going to could be potentially triggering. Hey, summer lilacs, autumn lilacs. Good to see you. Oh, bless your heart, Kezchick. Well, you're already into the weekend. So I'm sure that some of the testimony will be inflammatory and maybe a little triggering. So I just want to throw that out there for everybody to use viewer discretion. I have no idea, unless I play a replay, obviously, what live testimony is live testimony. So I don't know what's going to be said until it's said. So I like to put out that trigger warning. Oh, you're welcome, Summer. You're welcome. This case has intrigued me as well.
Are you asking for a person, Mr. Lawler?
And it's been super combative. And one of the things I like about true crime is the trial process and the fact that there's been a lot of good arguments made by the attorneys on both sides, for the state and for the defense. And I always love a good legal argument. So that's always interesting to me. And I'll get better about timing because Texas is Central Time and I'm East Coast time now. So knowing when they're going to start has been a little bit tricky. I was keeping my eye on Court TV, and I'm actually glad that WFAA, which is a local Dallas-Fort Worth news company, it's ABC Channel 8. I used to watch it all the time when I was home in Texas, but I'm glad they're covering it because for whatever reason, the audio
Let's have him up here
from Court TV has been
We might need a coach.
terrible. So I'm glad you guys are chatting now. I felt kind of lonely.
Have him sworn and see who he is, and then we can consider what to do.
And I'll probably stream this morning until they take their lunch break. And then I'll take a break in the
Can you come up
afternoon.
here to the stand? Thank you. All right. Do you swear that the testimony you will give will be the truth,
Yes.
the whole truth, and nothing
The
but the
mother.
truth to help you God?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, I would love a thumbs up. I'm going to thumbs up my own stream. How about that? No, just kidding. I won't do that. But please thumbs up the stream. I would appreciate
All
it.
right, state may proceed.
You have your approach, Your Honor?
Okay.
I believe that the mother has already testified, and she is one of the people that we obviously need to hear from. So, like I said, I'm going to go back at night and, do some replays so that we can catch up. I wonder why she isn't as well, Summer. I've often wondered why she wasn't facing any sort of charges. Maybe aiding and abetting, something, some type of charges. I mean, I don't understand why she hasn't either, but I don't know, maybe the state felt like they needed her as a witness, and so they didn't charge her, and maybe they felt like if they did charge her with something, they couldn't get a conviction. So maybe that's why they didn't. I don't know. Because I think by now, obviously, the murder has no statute of limitations, but other crimes do. And so I'm wondering if,
All right, ladies and
there's
gentlemen,
on
we're
some
going
of
to
the
take a
lesser
15
charges,
minute
there
break.
might be a statute of limitations, and maybe that's
back
why they
at
didn't
10:10.
charge her. I don't know. Right. She was very, very young. She was what, 15, I think, when they were married, and he was 30 or close to it. And that's a significant age difference. Particularly, 15 years is a significant age difference, but there's a big, huge difference in life experience, and certainly your resources as a 15-year-old versus, a 30-year-old. So I'll have to go back and watch some of the documentaries on this, because I know that their relationship was discussed as far as how they got together and all of that, and I'm I want to be able to speak about that. It's just been so long since I've watched it that I don't want to speak incorrectly. I don't want to give things that aren't factual. I don't want to misspeak. But oh, everyone's asleep, Kiss Chick. Well, I hope everyone's having sweet dreams over there in Australia. It's a nice day today in Florida, and I'm sitting outside enjoying it. So if you hear it's a little breezy. So if you hear a little wind, sorry about that. But it's been so oppressively muggy here this last, probably, I don't know, the whole month of, well, I don't want to say the whole month of July, but a lot of the month. And I hardly ever get to sit outside this late. It's almost 11 o'clock here. So I want to enjoy it while I can. I bet I've heard that you guys it's really cold in Australia right now, Chick. I hope you stay warm. You're welcome to come to Florida, because I can assure you it is not freezing here. It's never freezing here. I mean, it gets cold, and because we're not used to it, I will say things like, it's so cold I had to wear socks, which is not like legitimately freezing, but it's freezing for me. I guess they're taking their morning recess. We've had a lot of really like late breakthrough showers. Usually when we have them, it's like between, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 4. And lately it's been like 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So we've had some thunderstorms, some really like a lot of lightning here, a lot of loud thunder, obviously with the lightning, a lot of down like heavy rain real quick. But usually the breakthrough showers, they don't last that long, and these have been lasting a while. Well, you should come, because Chick, you really should. So was I, Summer. I was so glad when they finally apprehended him, because you know, yeah, I believe in the process, and they feel that they have enough evidence to charge him, and they did. And so let him stand trial, have a fair trial. And somebody is on the stand. Oh, they must be. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder if it's like in camera, out of the presence of the jury. I'm not sure. Hold on, let me see. Sometimes this switches off and mutes. No, it's not muted. Maybe they're just waiting. Normally where I am in Florida, Summer, it's not usually that humid. But lately, it's been like oppressively humid, where you can, obviously you can feel humidity when you go outside, but this humidity is like heavy. Like it presses down on you and lets you know it's there in a in an unfun way. Oh, you're welcome, Summer. Have a good rest of your day at work. Thanks for being here. Before you get back to work real, maybe you might want to go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I'm live again and doing the coverage. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, it's been bad, Chick. I've been checking on my curly-haired friends because they're not doing good. They're looking like alpacas out here. It's bad news. And I can't and me too, frankly, because I'm always with the messy bun, and I look like an alpaca with a messy bun. I'm not even playing. It's been bad. It's been bad. It has been bad. Oh, good. Thank you so much, Summer. I appreciate it. Welcome to the ward. You'll like it here. We're fun gals. I'm kind of curious about his attorneys. I wonder if they're I don't think they're court appointed, but let's look. I'm going to look that up while we wait. Let's see what we can find out about them. I will say they took the death penalty off the table, although they did. It is a capital murder. I don't find anything about his attorneys. Let me go to switch the search to news. Let me ask a different. Let me search a different way. I don't know where they are, Chick. I don't know. I don't know.
Get on the record.
Well, let's see. I'll look in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, see if they have anything about it. This is in Irving, Texas. So it's North Texas. It's a suburb in between Dallas and Fort Worth, but it's closer to Dallas than it is to Fort Worth.
Let the record reflect that the defendant is present with his attorney, the state is present, and we are outside the presence of the jury. Okay, we have the medical examiner on the stand, called by the state, and the defense had an objection immediately. Mr. Lawler?
Thank you, Your Honor. Do we have permission?
All right, let me look it up here. All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. You are Dr. Amy Gruzecki,
Yes,
and can you spell your last name?
Gruszeki.
And you were a medical examiner with the Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office.
Yes.
And who's the chief out there at the time you were employed there and chief still?
Who is the chief? Was the chief then is Dr. Jeffrey Bernard.
I'm sorry?
At the time I was employed, it was Dr. Jeffrey Bernard.
I'll be right back,
Yes.
you guys. I'm getting.
Yes, sir.
What was his name?
Jeffrey Bernard.
Yes. Bernard.
Fred, I'm sorry. Can you bring the microphone closer to me? Thank you.
When did you leave the employee of the Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office?
November of 2009.
Okay. And is it true, Dr. Gruzecki, you were given a choice of leaving on your own, not resigning, or be fired?
Yes.
Okay. And that was over the issue of you falsifying documents, particularly using sick leave when you were moonlighting and testifying in other cases. Jurisdictions.
I did not falsify documents. I used a sick leave.
That's what they believe.
Correct. I did not falsify documents. I used a sick day when my son was sick. And I had to also testify in a homicide trial in Mississippi. But I did not falsify any documents.
And the cases that you had been assigned to at the time you resigned were reassigned to other medical examiners. Is that correct?
You're
That was
welcome,
not my
Pest
choice.
Chick.
That was theirs. Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry,
That was not my choice. That was theirs.
but they were reassigned to other medical examiners.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? And you're familiar with the fact that they found fundamental errors that you had made in your examinations, and all your cases had to be gone through again.
I'm not familiar with any of that. I was never made aware of any of that.
Okay? And you are familiar with the fact that this DA's office, the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, would not call you and would not verify your credentials or your abilities or your capabilities.
Objection, that is not true.
That is true.
Oh dear, here we go.
The state can ask a witness. Go ahead, Mr. Lawler.
Is that correct?
I'm not aware of any of that.
Okay?
She is
And
a medical examiner.
in fact, that issue, have you ever been banned from testifying by the Dallas County District Attorney's Office?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I have testified in Dallas County since. I've also been here as a defense witness as well.
And have you heard, you know what Brady information is?
I am. Yes.
You're familiar with what Brady information is?
Yes.
In the legal sense.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the fact that the DA's office used to put you on a Brady list?
I'm familiar with that. Yes.
You're familiar with that?
Yes.
And all this previous information, which we've now gone through, was what was disclosed to the defense in those cases. Is that correct?
I don't know what was disclosed to a DA's. I don't know what was on a Brady list.
Did you know that you were on the Brady list?
I'm aware that I was on a Brady list previously.
Okay, let's find out what a Brady list is. I suspect it has something to do with exculpatory evidence, but let's find out.
You resigned in 2009, November 2009.
Yes.
At the time, 2008, when this autopsy was done, there was no issue with you and Swifts at the time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Well, fundamental error is fundamental error. And that's what they found you had engaged in your examination. Is that correct?
That's untrue, sir. I had no problem with my autopsy reports. I've had testified since then in many trials since then.
All right, I'm going to
I
pause
had
this
no
so I
problem with
can
any of mine. I've
explain
been
this to
accepted
you
as a witness
guys.
in court many times since then, in many courts since then.
Okay, so a Brady list is a list compiled usually by a prosecutor's office or a police department containing the names and details of law enforcement officers who have sustained incidents of untruthfulness, criminal convictions, candor issues, or some other type of issue placing their credibility into question. And so what this is why this is taking place outside of the presence of the jury, because the jury this isn't something they would ever be allowed to hear. What I'm assuming here is that at one point she worked for the medical examiner's office in Dallas County. And their defense is alleging that she's on a Brady list, meaning that there have been issues with her credibility and testifying as in cases. And so I believe what the defense team is doing here is trying to not allow her to be able to testify. They're trying to disqualify her as a witness. But the jury isn't hearing any of this, just us. All right, so here we go. Let me make sure this is turned up all the way because it's real low. It's probably better if you have earbuds in, you guys.
I've had no trauma. I have a fundamental problem with you making these allegations because they are absolutely untrue. It is very common for the Dallas County Court to use other medical examiners to testify for other forensic pathologists who have left since then. It is untrue that I have had fundamental errors. None of this has ever been brought to my attention in any way, shape, or form. I have never had fundamental errors with my autopsy reports. I have never been shown to be an incompetent forensic pathologist. That is untrue. Absolutely untrue.
And that's what Dr. Bernard would say?
I don't know what Dr. Bernard would say, but he is.
Doctor, I understand that you're upset, but wait for the questions before you make the responses, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Laurie, you were saying, did you have a question?
Yes. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, well, except, Your Honor, the state is asking that you not be allowed to go into any kind of general things about fundamental errors. That she resigned from Swifts, obviously, but not any kind of specific instances of conduct regarding sick leave or broad generalizations about fundamental errors in which we have no information on. It's going into specific instances of conduct that is improper.
It's not improper. It's perfectly admissible cross-examination of the witness. And all of this should have been disclosed by the state under Brady. It was not, never has been disclosed by them under Brady. So again, we move for mistrial.
Okay, so where did you get this information from, Mr. Laurie?
Dr. Bernard,
From the state.
Did the state make any disclosures?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does its beautiful Brady disclosures on Dr. Brusecki.
That was turned over to the defense?
Yes.
July 15th, 2022.
Whoa.
Via texture?
Via text, Your Honor. I can. Information that the court wishes to speak about.
This is a big deal.
Oh, yes.
If
Your Honor,
what-
we'll offer it as an exhibit if you like.
The defense is alleging is
But
true.
Also under Rule 608, going into specific instances of conduct is improper to impeach this witness's credibility. Moreover, this fundamental error is just a general thing that Mr. Lawler is talking about. There is no information at all contained within that.
Mr. Lola, I'm interested in where you get this fundamental error lingo from. Were there any judgments from other cases where this
we can
witness?
call Dr.
Hold on one
Bernard
second.
at the court's pleasure.
Let me finish my question, Mr. Lola. Allow me to finish my question, okay? All right. I'm asking you if there are any cases where this witness testified that was reversed for a fundamental error.
Fundamental errors in my definition is when she falsely describes the cause and
I'm
manner of
asking you
death.
about fundamental errors in appellate procedures.
Cause and manner of death.
Are there any cases that were reversed due to this witness's testimony?
I don't know about that.
Okay, then I would instruct
All
you,
ones are not.
I would instruct you not to use that language.
I won't use that language.
Is there anything else?
Well, we would also ask that he not, I will certainly get out that she resigned from Swifts, but not to get into the specific instances of conduct under which she resigned.
The defense is entitled to impeach this witness in any manner that they choose with whatever information the state has provided them on cross.
All right. I would still argue under 608 though, of the witness's character, 608B, that it's improper to go into.
So, Kezchik, I want to answer you before we keep going. The the defense team's strategy from moment one has been to impeach the witnesses on their credibility. And so what they're alleging, this is in the United States, this is a serious allegation that a Brady violation has been made. And usually Brady violations refer to exculpatory evidence, meaning evidence of the person who has been charged with the crime, murder in this case. There is evidence that the person did not commit the crime. And under the Brady rules, all of that information should have been turned over to the defense attorney from the state in discovery. Okay. And if there were issues of her testifying in other trials, or if she were on a Brady list, that should have been turned over to the defense team during discovery. And what the defense team is saying is that that was not done, and that in fact they didn't receive pertinent information as to her credibility specifically being on this Brady list until July 15th, 2022, which we're now in day 4 of the trial. And that's why he's moving for a mistrial. We're going to see what the judge is going to do. I don't think she's inclined to grant a mistrial because she's already giving instructions about what's not allowed to be asked of the witness, etc., as far as impeaching her testimony. But this is what defense attorneys do. They have to attack the credibility of each witness, including the medical examiner. So this would be pertinent to that. So they're doing an excellent job. And I'm finding, however this trial goes, it's going to be very difficult for Mr. Said, should he be found guilty, to file an ineffective. I mean, he can do it, but I doubt that. I mean, he's not going to have a very good case for it. For an ineffective assistance of counsel, they're doing a heck of a job. All right, here we go.
Specific instances of conduct to impeach a witness.
Thank you.
I've missed a lot too,
Is that for
Ms.
criminal
Chick.
conviction? I'm sorry, Your Honor, not
I
to interrupt you.
understand. Well, this witness does not have any criminal convictions, but as I said, the defense is allowed to use whatever information that the state has turned over to them regarding this witness as impeachment material.
Okay.
Okay, let's line up the jurors.
No, can we first wait and see what the state says they gave us? Rating wise,
The defense would have, should have gone over all this information before today.
Your Honor, I think we just want to make sure it's the same information that was provided to us before today.
July 15th, 2022. There were two separate files marked Brady check. Excuse me, screenshot 2, Brady disclosure language, and I believe that's Brady check. And disclosure language. SWIFTs in parentheses, in documents, in ACMS, or text is the court referred to.
Now, we're gonna have to call Dr. Bernard. The information that they give here is only that she falsified a timesheet for Dr. Bernard, not about the errors that were found in the examinations that she had previously done when they took over all her cases.
The defense is entitled to call whichever witnesses they choose.
But this Brady information is incomplete.
So all the verses of the I don't need to. Yeah, we have some stickers. One second. I love it, okay.
Your Honor, we're gonna offer this as state's exhibit. The state's,
State's exhibit.
No, this last one was 247, it wasn't.
248 for record purposes, Your Honor.
Any objection by the defense?
No objection.
Which exhibit number is that, 248?
248, Your Honor.
And describe 248 for the record.
It describes the Brady information that was turned over to the defense regarding Dr. Grissetti on our list, our Brady list.
Okay, State's exhibit number 248 is admitted for record purposes only.
Thank you.
Is there anything else before we bring the jurors in?
Can we take a momentary break?
No,
We have not been allowed.
we just took a break. It's been about 20 minutes now.
We have not been allowed to leave the courtroom.
Deputy, would you ask Sheriff to bring the jurors in?
Your Honor, I would like to please take a step down and call my attorney, please.
Hang on.
Okay. Ask Deputy Hart to send the jurors back to the room. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Is that okay?
Sorry, you guys, I had to mute my, the neighbor behind me is power washing their house, and so that
Let
was,
the record reflect that we are still outside the presence of the
that's gonna be, that was annoying.
defense is, the defendant is present with his attorneys, the state is present. And
Hi,
the
Sam.
medical examiner has requested an attorney. Is that right, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I'm being falsely accused of things that I did not do.
Thank you. You can step down.
Thank you.
And Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Black, please stay in touch with her. Make sure she returns. I'm giving you all 15 minutes to be back here.
All right. So I'm gonna mute this because it's obviously, we don't need to hear all this business. And I'm gonna move it forward so we're caught up. I know, Chick. I hardly ever get to sit outside and the day and stream, and now I can, and I feel like Lucius Malfoy right now. How dare you? You know what though? This is what I will say. You would think that this is a fairly open and shut case, but let me just say this. I think, and I'm glad to see that there's checks, double checks to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. Because if what the defense is alleging is true, this is a huge deal. Huge. Saying that they were not given pertinent information respective to this specific witness's credibility. I mean, it's okay. It's one thing if the allegations are true, that that what she got in trouble for at work would be a falsifying of a timesheet. That doesn't really go to credibility. But that's not what the defense is saying. What the defense is saying is that there have been errors found in her work, in her autopsies. And when she resigned, the doctor who took over her cases found significant errors. That's a big deal. And that is something that should be disclosed and was disclosed, but it appears it was not disclosed until very, very late in the game. I mean, for Pete's sake, we're on day 4 of the trial. This started, okay, so today is what, the 5th of August? So 4 days ago would have been what, the 1st of August, if my math is correct. And getting something on July 15th, which would be essentially 2 weeks, roughly, before the trial, that's a big deal. That's incredibly short notice. And that's problematic. And they are rude. Chick, they are rude. First of all, let me just say this as far as the power washing. It's a very common thing that occurs in Texas, in Florida, because, you know, a lot of rain, a lot of humidity, you know, gets the mold on the exterior of the home, and you want to keep that off of there. I understand the use and the purpose and the reasoning behind it. However, this is August. We still have a lot of rain and a lot of more humidity. And so I would think it would be best done in the fall, but what do I know? Or at least do it on a day where I'm not outside streaming. The rudes. The rudes. And the fact that I probably should push play. Haha. The fact that the medical examiner is gone to consult with her attorney. Y'all, yikes on all the bikes. Yikes on the bikes. This is the first time I've ever seen this happen, like live. I don't even think that I've seen this not live. I don't think I've seen this happen in a trial, not with a medical examiner, for Pete's sake. Other witnesses, yes, and I'm familiar with what a Brady violation is. Unlike some people, Kim Kaufman, I'm looking at you. Just kidding, that was petty. Sorry. But sorry, I'll behave. I'll be good. I mean, it's Friday. But still, I've not seen it play out like this in all my livelong life. And I have to say, I am fascinated and enthralled, and I need to see how this is going to end. And I'm so glad you guys are all here with me. I'm glad you laughed at it, Kiss Chick. I may or may not have some regrets about saying that, but not really. I feel like on a scale of 0% to 100% regretful, I'm at probably 3.7%. I don't like the breaks either. The breaks are very annoying. I understand why they have to be done. And believe you me, nobody likes to take a break more than yours truly. However, this is a major cliffhanger. And I need to know how it's going to end. And this feels like commercials, when you're watching a TV show back in the day before there was streaming and you could just binge a whole season, no commercials, right? This feels like the season finale of a show, or heck, not even, yes, I'll go season finale. Series might be dramatic, but a season finale, and it's like the last 15 minutes of the show, and 8 of those minutes are commercials. That's how this feels. I'm happy you're here too, and I'm happy you laughed at it. Not everybody would get it. Okay, so what happened is in 2008 in Irving, Texas, there was a 911 call, and it was Sarah Said, 17 years old. And she was calling for help because she and her sister had just been shot. And in that 911 call, she says, among other things, she says, "I'm dying." It's a heart-wrenching 911 call, and I believe they've already played it. If not, they're going to. It's heart-wrenching. And then she also said that her father is who shot her. Okay. So he has obviously fled by the time, the police and ambulance get out there. Of course, he's no longer on the scene. And he has been in hiding for the last since 2020. He was, let me start that over again, because this is not okay. He's been in hiding from 2008 until 2020, which is when they found him. The FBI did, and brought him back to the United States, extradited him back. I believe that he was in Egypt. He is a dual citizen. He has citizenship in Egypt and in the United States. And I believe they found him in Egypt. If I'm wrong, after I'm done streaming this, I'll search the Googles. And if I'm incorrect, I will timestamp it and correct myself in the description for you guys. But so this case has been, put on hold for 12 years. And then obviously when he was extradited and returned to the United States, then, he'd already been charged, but all of the things happened. All right, here we go.
It's time for the defense to cross-examine her.
Well, it's time for cross-examination?
Yes.
Okay.
So she can call her attorney and ask him to be on standby, but the state can go ahead and examine her in chief, okay?
Okay, now, we're trying to locate that room. Judge, for now, I think she's still on the phone with them. Is there a way we can just move on to our next witness and then revisit this?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Well, good. I'm glad they had a plan B. And so let me just say, for you guys listening, I'm going to go live tonight with this trial. And should they end up calling the medical examiner after lunch, we're going to start with the medical examiner's testimony tonight. And for those of you watching that are like my West Memphis 3 coverage, I'm going to do a morning live, a follow-up on the Damien Eccles episode that I just did a couple of days ago. And that'll be Saturday morning Eastern time, probably like, I don't know, 10 o'clock Eastern. So be looking out for that live notification. Because I really want to get into this trial, and I think what I'm going to do is probably Saturday evening, more testimony, go back over the 3 days that we've missed, so we're all caught up on Monday. Sound like a plan, Stan? That's what we'll do. Yeah, I need to catch up too, Kez Chick. And I want to catch you guys up. Because I did watch the opening statements.
Here.
And they were really good, actually, on both sides. I love an opening and closing statement.
Interpreter.
I think it should be Kez Chick. So what time? It's what time is it there right now? I think it should be evening for you. I feel like 10 a.m. my time, Eastern time. Would be evening for you guys, I think, over there in Australia. Okay, so it's 1:37 a.m. there. It is 11:36 a.m. here. So you're what? That's 14 hours ahead. So, oh boy. So if I do it at, well, duh, Jen, it's roughly going to be about the same time. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you think I should do it a little earlier? What's a good time for you, Kez Chick? Like 9 a.m.? We're going to run into the same issue as we were running into today, Jen Lou. Come on, get it together, girl. So let's do like what? 9 a.m. Because I gotta have Jen Lou time. You know, I gotta be awake for a while before I can start streaming. Otherwise, you think I talk gibberish now? Just if I'm not all the way awake, OMG, it'll be 11 billion times worse. Okay. Well then, I'm gonna make it 10. I'm gonna make it 10, and that because you're already gonna be up, and you can just join when you're done. That solves that. That's what we'll do. Hopefully, you can stay up long enough for a couple hours stream. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Do you wish me to change my mask, or is this gonna be okay?
If you would wear the clear one, that would be
Okay.
great.
If you got anybody here is new, just listening and afraid to chat, don't be. We're all friendly here. And this is pretty much par for the course for Jen Lou. I frequently stumble around a little bit on my words, make jokes. I'm not super polished. I will say I do like that the judge if they're going to require masks, which is, I don't have a judgment either way, but I like that she prefers the clear face mask because I was really curious when the pandemic first started how it was going to impact testifying in trials like this, where half of your face is covered, and for the jury, because the jury is listening obviously to the testimony, but it's human nature to watch body language and facial movement and stuff like that. So I'm glad that she's doing the clear ones. That way that doesn't impede being able to see their face. I like that. And we're back on track. I have no idea who they're fixing to
We're on
call.
record. Okay. Let the record reflect that the defendant is present with his attorneys, the state is present, and the jurors are present and seated. We have an interpreter present. Ma'am, would you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Griseta Samano, GRICELTA, my license number is 163.
Thank you. And do you swear that you will interpret from English to Spanish and from Spanish to English as accurately as possible to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. State may proceed.
It
Thank
is.
you, Your Honor.
It
Good
is.
morning, Mr. Camacho.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your Honor, may we swear in the witness as well?
Oh, yes, that's correct. Thank you for reminding me. Mr. Camacho, would you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Juro.
I do.
Thank you. State may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your first and last name for the court, spelling your first and last
No.
name for the court report?
Jorge Camacho.
Jorge Camacho. Can you spell that for the court reporter, please? ¿Lo puede deletrear para la reportera del corte, por favor?
Jorge.
Jorge.
Camacho.
Camacho. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And Mr.
Summer.
Camacho, what do you do for work?
Yikes on bikes.
Mantenimiento.
Maintenance.
I like this because I can understand both.
In apartments? ¿Usted trabajaba para unos departamentos que se llamaban Canyon?
Sigo trabajando ahí.
I still work there. Okay. So you're still employed there? ¿Usted trabaja todavía ahí entonces?
Ujú.
Yes, no.
Sí.
Yes. And in August 14th of 2017, were you working there? ¿Y en agosto 14 de 2017 usted estaba trabajando ahí también?
Sí.
Yes. Doing maintenance. Haciendo mantenimiento.
Correcto.
That's correct. What was the name of your manager? ¿Cuál era el nombre de su jefe?
En este momento o en el pasado.
Now or
right
then?
now or in the past? At the time. August 14th, 2017.
Se me olvidó el nombre.
I forgot his name. Okay. I'll ask you, at some point, did you make contact with maybe assistant manager that worked there? En algún momento dado, usted hizo contacto con, a lo mejor con el asistente del manager.
All right, I'll be right back. Just give me one
No.
quick minute. I'll be in the chat, but I'm just not going to talk.
Maybe I'll ask you some questions and it'll make sense. Were you asked to go to an apartment to check out a leak? ¿Usted le pidieron que fuera a revisar un departamento porque había una fuga?
Correcto.
That's correct. Was it apartment 348? Era el apartamento 34,
348.
Yes, 348. Okay. Did you go to, in fact, check out the leak? ¿Usted fue y checó esa fuga? ¿A ese departamento?
Sí.
Yes. Okay. Tell the jury what you did when you first knocked on the door at apartment 348. Dígale al jurado qué fue lo que usted hizo cuando usted tocó en la puerta 348.
Yo llegué porque era una emergencia.
I I arrived because it was an emergency.
Toqué la puerta
I knocked on the door.
one time, un tiempo.
One time. Did anyone answer? ¿Alguien contestó?
No.
No.
Toqué la segunda vez,
I knocked a second time.
nadie contestó.
Nobody answered the door.
Regresé a la oficina donde están las llaves.
I came back to the office where the keys are kept.
Y le expliqué a la manager
I explained to the manager
que no había nadie.
that there was nobody there. Okay. And who is that manager that you explained it to? ¿Y quién era ese manager al cual usted le
Estoy
explicó?
tratando de recordar el nombre.
I am trying to remember the name. Was it Michelle Jones?
Michelle, yeah, that's,
Okay.
es correcto.
Yes, that's her, it's correct. So then you told Michelle Jones and she said you could use your keys to enter the apartment.
Correcto.
Entonces Michelle le dijo a usted que podía usar sus llaves para entrar al departamento.
Es correcto.
That's correct. So do you return to apartment 348 with those keys? ¿Usted regresó al departamento 348 con esas
Es
llaves?
correcto.
That is correct. And do you gain entry inside and be able to open the door and enter? ¿Y usted pudo entrar, pudo abrir la puerta y entrar?
No, volví y toqué.
No, I knocked again. Why are you not able to go in with the keys? ¿Por qué no puede entrar usted con la llave y si la traído?
Porque hay unas reglas primero que hay que tocar.
Because there are rules that we need to knock first. Okay. So when you knock first, then you put the key back in? Entonces usted tocó primero y ya después puso la llave?
Introduje la llave en la cerradura.
Yes, I introduced the key into the keyhole. Does the door open for you? ¿Se
No,
abrió la puerta usted?
it's locked.
No, the door is locked. It is locked from the inside? Tiene un candado por dentro.
Tiene candado por dentro.
Yes, it's locked in the inside. Do you still try to open the door? ¿Usted de todas maneras trata de abrir la puerta?
Sí,
Yes. How do you gain entry into the door? ¿Cómo puede entrar dentro de la puerta?
volví y golpeé duro, fuerte.
I hit really hard.
Le dije, es una emergencia,
I said, it's an emergency.
por favor, abran la puerta.
Please open the door. Did someone on the other end of the door open it? ¿Alguien del otro lado de la puerta abrió la puerta?
Abrió la puerta.
Yes, they opened it. Okay. What did that person look like? ¿Cómo se veía esa persona?
Una persona adulta,
It was an adult person. Male or female? Hombre o mujer?
hombre.
Male. Do you remember if he had any facial hair? ¿Usted recordaba si él tenía algún cabello facial?
Tenía barba
Yeah, he had facial hair.
y tenía una gorra.
And he also had a hat. A hat? Did it come down with the
Yes,
brim?
cover.
Maybe like a baseball hat? Como una gorra de béisbol.
No exactamente de béisbol, pero tenía algo que le cubría la cara.
Not exactly as a baseball cap, but something that would cover his face. Okay. Cover his eyes? ¿Le cubría sus ojos?
Tenía la cabeza agachada.
No, he had his face down. He had his face down. Could you see the facial hair you mentioned? What color was it? La barba que usted vio, ¿qué color era?
Blanca.
White.
Blanca con blanca negra.
White and black. Like salt and pepper, black and white. Como sal y pimienta, negra y blanca.
Ujú.
Ah, sí. Sí o no.
Sí.
Yes. Totalmente. Okay. Did you speak to that adult male? ¿Usted habló con ese hombre adulto?
Le dije que había un liqueo del aire.
I told him that there was an air leak. Okay. Did you tell him where the leak was? ¿Usted le dijo a él dónde estaba la fuga?
Sí,
Yes. Where? ¿Dónde?
adentro en el baño.
Inside the restroom. Okay. Did you go into the restroom to fix the leak? ¿Usted fue dentro del baño para arreglar la fuga?
Sí,
Yes. Where's the adult male while you were working on the leak? ¿Dónde estaba el hombre que estaba ahí mientras usted estaba trabajando, arreglando la fuga?
él me siguió hasta el baño.
He followed me to the restroom. Okay.
Can you see his face at this time?
Entonces,
No.
¿ya usted ya podía ver su cara en ese momento?
No.
So he keeps his head down.
Él sigue
Yes.
manteniendo su cabeza abajo.
Sí.
Yes.
Is he still wearing his hat?
¿Todavía trae su
Traía la-
gorro,
Ujú.
su puesto? Yes.
Had you entered that apartment before this day, Mr. Camacho?
¿Usted había entrado en este departamento antes de esta fecha? De este
No.
día, señor Camacho? No.
Had you ever seen this adult male at the apartments ever before?
¿Usted había visto a algún otro hombre adulto, ese hombre adulto en los departamentos antes?
No.
No.
Okay. After you fix the leak, what do you do?
Después de que arregló la fuga, ¿qué fue lo que usted hizo?
Regresé la tapa hacia el aire acondicionado.
I put the cover of the air conditioning back on.
Okay.
Cuando terminé fue cuando él levantó la cabeza y me di cuenta que era una persona de aspecto
Hey, Brandy May, welcome. Good to see ya.
árabe.
When I finished, he lifted up his head, and that's when I realized that he was a person with an Arabic aspect.
Arabic?
Arabic?
Ujú.
Yeah, Arabic.
Okay, so then he lifts up his head and you're able to see his face.
Levanta su cara y usted puede ver su cara de él.
Ujú.
¿Sí o no?
Is this
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, is this before you leave the apartment?
Eso fue antes de que usted se fuera del departamento.
No,
Usted
ya
lo vio
después, cuando ya me iba para el...
After, when I was heading out.
Okay. So then do you now leave the apartment?
Y luego ya se va usted del departamento. ¿Sí o no?
Me voy de fuera del apartamento
Yes.
para ir a la oficina.
I go outside of the apartment and I head to the office.
Okay, do you go back and do you talk to your manager?
Usted
Yes.
regresa y habla con su manager.
A regresar las llaves fue cuando la manager me dijo, ¿usted vio esta persona ahí adentro?
So that's when I turned back the keys, and that's when the manager asked me, "Did you see this person inside that apartment?"
Okay, and that's Michelle Jones?
Y ella es
Michelle Jones, yeah.
Yes, Michelle Jones, yes.
And you looked at the picture and did you recognize that person?
I think we understood his answer, ma'am.
Esa foto?
Reconocí la foto y le dije, es esa persona.
Yes, I recognize, I saw the photo and I told her, yes, that is the person.
I can tell you with 100% certainty, no.
Después de eso, ella me dijo que ya cuando me volvió a hablar ella, que ya había comunicado con el FBI.
Yes, when she called me again, she told me that she had made contact with the FBI.
Why did she call the FBI?
I don't know. No tengo ni idea.
I don't know, I have no idea.
Did the FBI arrive?
Llegó el FBI?
Sí,
Yes.
Let me see where he was found
Did they talk to
because
you?
¿Hablaron con usted?
sí.
Yes.
Did you tell them everything that you told me here today?
¿Usted les dijo todo lo que usted me dijo aquí el día de hoy?
Correcto.
That is
because
correct.
that means he was
Now,
here.
at some point,
So, por favor.
when the FBI arrives, you tell them which apartment it is, right?
En un momento, en algún momento dado, cuando llega el FBI, usted les dice qué número de apartamento es, ¿verdad?
Correcto.
That's correct.
Okay, do you see the same person that you saw earlier looking at you through the blinds?
¿Usted ve la misma persona a la cual usted ha visto anteriormente que lo estaba viendo a través de las persianas?
Cuando yo le estaba mostrando al FBI qué apartamento era, cuando volteé la cabeza hacia arriba, vi cuando el mini blind se abrió y se cerró.
Yes, when I was showing the FBI which apartment it was, I looked up and I realized that the mini blinds were opening and shutting.
For the same apartment, 348.
Del mismo departamento.
Correcto.
348? That is
He
correct.
was in Justin, Texas. My bad, you guys.
When
So
you
I
were
will
in
definitely
348,
fix
do you
that.
know if anybody else was in the apartment or just that adult male?
Cuando usted fue a ese departamento 348,
So he didn't flee the country.
¿usted vio más personas en ese departamento o solamente esa persona?
Solamente esa persona.
So let me see how far Justin is from Irving, Texas.
Do you
Because
see
that's not a
him
town
come
I'm
in
familiar with.
shortly after when the FBI is there?
Usted lo ve de nuevo, poquito después cuando llega el FBI.
Sí.
Yes. When do you see him again?
¿Cuándo lo ve de nuevo?
Lo veo cuando regreso del lonche,
I see him when I come back from lunch.
Okay, where did you see him?
¿Dónde lo ve?
pasar por el frente de la oficina.
34
He,
miles, you guys.
passed through
About
the front of the
47
office.
minutes away from where this all took
Okay.
place.
Did he look the same, or had his appearance changed?
¿Se veía igual o ya se veía diferente su cara?
Ya él se veía diferente.
Yeah, he looked different now.
Okay, tell the jury how he looked.
Entonces, explíquele al jurado cómo se veía él.
Ya se veía sin barba,
He looked without,
I wish I had
facial
remembered
hair,
the timestamp. Now I have to go back and listen
y el
so I
cabello
can fix
peinado.
it.
and his hair was very combed.
His hair was
Combed.
¿Estaba peinado su cabello?
Sí,
Yes.
How was it combed?
¿Cómo estaba peinado?
para la parte de atrás.
Towards the back,
Combed back.
Ujú.
como para atrás.
Was he wearing a hat?
Él traía ya un
No,
un
nada.
gorro.
They've not
No,
said anything
nothing.
about home address. Closed captioning. That is incorrect.
The person that you saw in that apartment, and then the person that you saw later, with the slick back hair, the facial hair?
Esa persona que usted ve en el departamento y la persona que usted ve después, ya sin cabello y con el cabello peinado hacia atrás.
Correcto.
Do
Correcto.
you see that person in the courtroom today?
¿Ve usted esa persona en el tribunal el día de hoy?
Tengo la imagen.
Yes, I have an image on mine. I have an image.
You do?
Ya.
¿Usted lo tiene? Yes.
If I'm in chair number 1, chair number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which number is he in?
Ok, si yo por ejemplo estoy sentada en la silla número 1, mi compañera en la 2, el señor dígito en la 3, el otro en la 4, 5, 6, ¿en qué silla usted lo vería que está sentado él?
El que está en el medio,
¿En qué número de silla?
en la segunda
He
silla.
said in the middle
The,
first.
the one that is in the middle on the second chair.
Next to the female
Ujú.
Cerca de la mujer,
Sí.
yes,
wearing a blue mask?
que trae una máscara azul.
Ujú.
¿Y la silla no?
Sí.
Yes.
Hey, Nosy Nina, how you doing? Good to see ya.
The record will so reflect.
Mr. Camacho, where exactly are the apartments located? What city?
Señor Camacho, ¿dónde exactamente están localizados los departamentos? ¿En qué ciudad?
En Bedford, Texas.
In Bedford, Texas.
Is that at 2444 Harwood Road?
Es correcto.
That is correct.
And Mr. Camacho, just for clarification, when you went in with the key,
Señor Camacho, solamente para clarificar, cuando usted entró con su llave,
you knocked first, right?
usted tocó primero, ¿cierto?
Correcto.
That is correct.
Okay. When you put the key in, was the door locked from the inside?
Cuando usted puso la llave, la puerta estaba cerrada por la parte de adentro.
Estaba por la puerta de...
He was locked inside, yes.
Okay. So did the adult male have to unlock the door to let you in?
El hombre tuvo que abrirle, quitarle el seguro para que usted pudiera entrar.
Pero porque le dije que había una emergencia,
Yes, but because I told him it was an
que por
emergency.
favor tenía que abrir la puerta.
And to please open the door.
Do you know, I asked you earlier if you had ever seen the adult male before? Do you
She
know-
could.
I'm sorry.
She,
Anteriormente, si
she
usted
could
había
catch
visto
check.
hombre con anterioridad.
The
No.
proper way to wear
No.
a face shield
Do you know who the owner of the apartment was?
with your
¿Usted
hair
sabe quién es el dueño
intact.
del departamento?
No.
No.
I'll pass the witness.
Can you defense?
Mr. Camacho, my name is Brad Lawler,
Señor Camacho, yo soy Brad Waller.
and I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Voy a hacer unas preguntas.
And if you don't understand them, just let me know and I'll clear it up.
Si no entiende, entonces háganmelo saber y yo se las hago de otra manera. Okay.
Now, when the FBI got there,
Cuando llegó el FBI,
and we can assume they were looking for one of the 10 most wanted fugitives in the United States,
y vamos a asumir que estaba buscando a los 10
they didn't think to
fugitivos
cover the back of the
más
apartment.
importantes de los Estados Unidos.
How can he
I'm
know
gonna, dice personas,
what the
attorney
FBI
to
was
slow
thinking?
down a little bit, please,
Sure.
so I can finish interpreting. Thank you.
Sure, let me re-ask you. So when the FBI got there, and they were looking for one of the 10 most wanted fugitives in the United States, they didn't think to cover the back of the apartment.
No pensaron cubrir la parte de atrás del departamento.
Is that your testimony?
¿Ese es el testimonio de usted?
Ujú.
Digan sí o no.
Sí.
Yes.
That's all the questions we have.
Son todas las preguntas que
Thank you. Anything else about to say?
¿Algo más?
No further questions for this witness, ma'am.
We have no objection.
Thank you, sir. You're free to leave.
I don't, that was not for the benefit of the witness to testify to that. He just was making a point for the jury, quite frankly, because Mr. Camacho would have no idea what the FBI agents or agent or however many came out would be thinking that day. He can only say that whether they were there in the back of the apartment or not, but not whether they didn't. You know what I'm saying? It was a real shady form of a question. He could have asked, did they go to the back,
you're about to
right?
give will be the truth, the whole
But he
truth,
didn't.
and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think that the medical examiner is probably still on the phone with her attorney.
State name, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Bull. Will you please state your name and spell for the record?
Yes, ma'am. It is first name David, David. Last name is Tull, T as in Tom, ULL.
Sir, where are you currently employed?
I'm at the Irving Police Department.
And what do you do for the Irving Police Department?
Currently, I'm assigned in the electronic evidence section.
Oh,
What does that division specifically do?
the digital
We do
evidence.
anything that has to do with computers, cell phones, vehicle forensics, etc.
Now, how long have you been with the Irving, are you with the Irving Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been with the Irving Police Department?
Since March of 2005.
And are you a police officer, a certified peace officer here in the state of Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you said since 2005, you've been assigned to, you've been at the Irving Police Department. Did you have any prior law enforcement experience prior to coming to the Irving Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Now, were you employed with the Irving Police Department on or about August 14th, 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at that time, were you assigned to a special unit within the Irving Police Department?
Yes, I was. I was with the crime scene section, which is more the physical crime scene.
Okay, can you tell the jury what that specific unit does for the Irving Police Department?
Yes, we're the crime scene section is tasked with the collection of evidence, preservation of evidence, photographing scenes, pretty much anything that you've seen on CSI. That's kind of what we would do.
So in August 14th, 2017, were you asked to process a crime scene or investigate a crime scene at 2444 Harwood Avenue, apartment 348 in Bedford, Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of an ongoing investigation regarding a defendant by the name of Yaser Said?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware that at that point had the defendant been captured? Yaser Said, had he been captured?
No, ma'am.
What was the reason that you were called out to process apartment 348 at 244 Harwood Drive?
It was believed that the defendant had been at the apartment for an unknown period of time. Obviously, he was wanted at that time frame. And so any indication that he had been there, they wanted to collect any evidence showing that he had been there.
And that apartment complex, the Copper Canyon Apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
And now, with regards to the apartment complex, that particular apartment, apartment 348, was that registered to an individual by the name of Islam Said?
I'm not sure who it was registered to.
Was a search warrant executed prior to entering the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that give you legal authority to go inside the apartment and take photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you process the exterior of the apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you process the interior of the apartment 348?
Yes, ma'am.
And who gave you direction to do that?
It was Investigator Curtis, as well as an agent from the FBI.
Now, if I were on the 10 most wanted list
Did you speak, do you recall?
and I had a leak in my apartment, I would be on YouTube
don't recall
figuring out
any.
how to fix the leak myself so I didn't have to call maintenance from the apartment complex.
Does that sound familiar?
It does.
And you mentioned Detective Eric Curtis. Is he ultimately the lead detective or final detective prior to the capture of Yaser Said?
Yes, ma'am. Due to retirements, anytime there's an ongoing investigation, they'll hand it off to another investigator, and he took over the case.
Was Detective Curtis or Agent Commander, were they present while you processed the crime scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, can you tell the jury a little bit about how this apartment looks like? Is it on the first floor or the second floor?
The specific apartment is on the second floor of a two-story apartment building. I believe it was, if you're looking at the stairwell up and to the left, there was basically an apartment on either side of the stairs. There was one entrance door and then one balcony. Other than that, it was a studio efficiency type apartment inside.
So before you entered the apartment, did you try to process the exterior of the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you observe, collect any evidence in processing the exterior of the apartment?
Yes, there was a pair of
You sure
eyeglasses,
can,
prescription
Test chick.
eyeglasses, that were in a rocky area. Basically, if the balcony was up above where somebody would have either climbed down, fallen down, jumped down, and landed on the rocky area, that was about where the eyeglasses were.
And why did you collect those eyeglasses?
Just as the location of where they were at in relation to the apartment. I felt that it could have been related to somebody climbing over the balcony and leaving them.
So you seized the eyeglasses. Was there anything else on the exterior of the apartment that you collected or seized?
I don't recall.
Now, when you got to the interior of the apartment, did you collect anything on the inside of the apartment?
Yeah, the first thing we do whenever we go to a scene is we will photograph everything as it stands whenever we get there, as just kind of a general documentation. And then as we go through the apartment search, we'll locate any items of evidence and photograph them as well.
Was Yaser Said present at the apartment, or had he been arrested back on August 14, 2017?
No, ma'am.
Was there reason to believe that he had been in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Judge, may I approach?
You may.
I wonder why they haven't brought in the medical examiner yet. I wonder what's going on with that.
Investigator Cole, I asked you before you testified here today to take a look at State's Exhibit number 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120.
I don't know what these pictures are going to be, so brace yourselves.
123, and I'm right all the way to 130.
I would assume they're not going to be too
Yes, ma'am.
graphic, obviously, because
111 through 133.
this has
Yes,
nothing
ma'am.
to do
They're
with the
photographs
actual
that I took.
crime.
Okay, and this would have been from August 14th, 2017,
Yes, ma'am.
and this would have been part of the processing of the crime scene.
Correct.
Any changes, alterations, relations of these photographs?
Not that I could tell.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 240. Do you recognize this photograph?
I recognize the apartment complex. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
is this the Copper Canyon apartment complex, the entrance leading into the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 241. Is this a overhead Google Map view of where the apartment complex is located?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state's going to offer State's Exhibit 111 through 133 into admission. We're also going to offer State's Exhibit number 240 and 241, tendering to defense counsel for objections.
All right, State's Exhibits 111 through 133. State's Exhibit number 240 and State's Exhibit number 241 are all admitted for all purposes.
Permission to publish.
You may.
All right, so Investigator Toll, let's actually borrow this easel for just a second. So we can kind of give the juror's perspective when it came to where this apartment complex was located, was it located in the city of Irving?
No, ma'am.
Is it common if something's part of an investigation, you may go into other jurisdictions to process crimes?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have to do that in this case.
Yes, ma'am.
You have legal authority to go into the apartment, y'all executed a search warrant, and so we can see sort of where the apartment is based on State's Exhibit 241, the overhead Google map. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then here in State's Exhibit 240, we see the entrance of the apartment complex here in Bedford.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? Now, that you went into the apartment, were you aware that the defendant, Yaser Said, was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you aware that the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, was assisting in a parallel investigation at the same time that the Irving Police Department was working their case?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so now let's run through these photographs that we just talked about, so you can exhibit 111 through 132. Okay. So, all right, so here in State's Exhibit number 111, we saw similar to State's Exhibit 241, the sign of Copper King. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you know if Bedford is in Dallas County?
It is not.
Is it in Tarrant County?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you have here sort of a picture of the building with the apartment numbers 345 to 352. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you taking these pictures to show sort of perspective of where we're going?
Yes, ma'am. Generally, when we do photographs, we start from an overview and work our way to a more close-up view.
Okay, so here's State's Exhibit 113. This is sort of a spread a photo that's to the pushed back, showing the building itself. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told us that the building, the apartment, is on the second floor. And you mentioned something about rocks. Do you see here State's Exhibit 114? Why did you take this photograph?
That's on the side of the building. That balcony that you see kind of in focus there is the one below the subject's apartment.
Okay, and so we see sort of like a windmill, a wind chime here on this bottom floor. This is not the apartment that we're talking about, is that right?
Correct.
And just because I want the jurors to get perspective of what we're doing. Here in State's Exhibit 115, what are we looking at in this image?
So from that one, the upstairs balcony is the apartment that we're speaking about. The doorway that you can see there would be the door leading out to the balcony.
Now, we see the same sort of rocks here at the bottom by the first floor apartment. Here in State's Exhibit 115.
Yes, ma'am.
And then here's a more zoomed in photo of 116 and those same rocks.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you zoomed in here at 117. What is it that we see here at 117?
Those are the pair of eyeglasses that I was speaking about.
Okay, those were collected. Were they taken to the Irving Police Department and processed?
They were taken to the Irving Police Department. Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that subsequently the Federal Bureau of Investigations and FBI took custody of those guys?
Yes, ma'am.
And they actually did analysis on those guys?
Correct.
All right, now what are we looking at in State's Exhibit 118?
That would be the stairs going up to the landing for the apartment.
Okay, so can you tell the jury where the apartment where the apartment would be located in this image?
When you get to the top of the stairs to the left, you can see part of the window with the light on the left-hand side.
Okay, so that would be this apartment,
Yes, ma'am.
or this window, excuse me. And so we keep kind of traveling up the stairs, and In State's Exhibit 119, what we're talking about is that open door and that window that we see on the left side of this image.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's get to 120. We're at the top here, outside of the apartment. Does there appear to be damage on this window?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of how that damage came to?
Prior to my arrival, I believe the FBI tactical team made entry into the apartment.
And so you don't know if this is it fair to assume that the window was broken as a result of the FBI entering the apartment?
I would believe it was.
Or breaching the entrance of the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see that the door is open here in State's Exhibit 120. And then we see some debris here on the ground.
Excuse me.
Glass,
Oh no, Kezchik.
Yes, ma'am.
Get to the charger. What are you doing?
And then we shifted the focus up a little bit so we can kind of look into the apartment at this point. State's Exhibit 122.
Excuse me.
And then the State's Exhibit 123. This is you do essentially a panorama view of what the apartment looks like as you're entering the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we see here in 123?
So that would be as you enter into the apartment, over to the left-hand side.
Hey Heather, whatever.
For
Good to see
perspective, the
you.
door frame in the right-hand side of the photograph would be the balcony door.
And then here in 124 is we're kind of turning our attention to the right. Is this the other side of the living room area?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see some license plates here above the breakfast bar, some couches, those sorts of things.
Correct.
And it appears here in State's Exhibit number 125 that another image of how the apartment looked.
Yes, ma'am.
And again in 126.
Yes.
Now let me draw your attention to State's Exhibit 127. Were you aware as to whether? Oh. Were you aware as to whether or not the door to the apartment was open or shut when FBI breached the apartment?
I was not told one way or the other.
Okay. Now, did you collect any other personal items within the home? Personal identifying information, like passports, documents, those sorts of things?
Yes, ma'am. There was a number of items that I collected.
So I'm showing your State's Exhibit number 128.
Let me push pause just really quick so I can explain this. Okay, so the witness who testified prior to this was a maintenance worker at an apartment complex in Bedford, Texas. Okay, and when he was called, excuse me, to the apartment because there was a leak in the bathroom, and after he got into the bathroom and he saw the person in the apartment, he went and spoke to the apartment manager, and the apartment manager then called the FBI. So the Irving Police Department came out to that apartment complex and took photographs and collected evidence because it was believed to be that Yaser Said had been staying there. And so those are the photographs that are being shown right now, are the photographs of that apartment that he was hiding out in Bedford, Texas, which is all right there together. It's all part of the Metroplex. Oh, wait, I have to push play on the screen. Sorry, my bad.
Is this an overview of some of the documents that you collected at the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start here in State's Exhibit number 129. What is this document that we're looking at here?
It appears to be a photocopy of a Texas driver's license.
And whose driver's license is it?
Is it Muhsin Said?
And most of the court reporter is MOHSEN.
Oh, that's a new driver's license-ish.
Yes, ma'am.
I have my Texas driver's license, and it doesn't look like that. Oh, you're
That was a
welcome.
photocopy of the driver's license.
Then we see here in State's Exhibit number 130, a letter with a header from DFW Airporter DFW Airporter, 800 South Carroll Avenue, South Lake, Texas, 76092. And in the body of this letter, we see, to whom it may concern, I, Mohsen Said, owner of DFW Airport, authorized Maribel Gonzalez Said, the Texas driver's license number 062544487, to renew all vehicle needs such as registrations, inspections, etc. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, Mohsen Said, at 817-528-44. And then there appears to be a signature line with Mohsen Said's printed name beneath it, but not a signature. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, this is all part of the apartment. All contents are within the apartment of the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now let me draw your attention to State's Exhibit 131. What are we looking at here?
It's appears to be a U.S. passport.
And who is this passport assigned to?
Islam Said.
Who is Islam Said to Yaser Said?
I believe it is his son.
And this passport, was this collected and processed?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we see State's Exhibit 132, a document in what appears to be Arabic. And then another document here in State's Exhibit 133. And does that appear to, if you know, does that appear, that photograph appear to be Islam Said?
It appears so.
A younger version?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, these items that you collected, were they stored with the Irving Police Department? Collected and did you take custody of them and store them with the Irving Police Department, at least temporarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you made aware, or were you made aware that some of these items were subsequently transferred to the Federal Bureau of Investigation to Quantico to be tested?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware as to whether or not Islam Said ever came back to the department?
I am not.
Did you ever speak to Islam Said, Yaser Said, Mohsen Said, or any other member that had personal belongings contained within the department?
No, ma'am.
Heather. You guys are funny.
Now, Investigator Toll, did you ever obtain fingerprints at this apartment?
We lifted fingerprints, but there were no successful matches located.
Does that mean that you weren't able to do a proper comparison against a known person?
Correct, either known or unknown.
Were you given or provided Yaser Said's 10-print card to do a comparison against the items that you processed?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to do a proper comparison between that 10-print card, which is a fingerprint card of Yaser Said, and the items that you collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to garner any results as a result of that?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass it over to her.
Thank you.
Detective, how you doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
All right. We saw a photograph among those that the state just introduced, and it's all the items that were UCs, and they were laid out on a bulletin board kind of thing.
It was, yes, sir, butcher paper. Yes, sir.
Was that at the apartment, or is that back at your office?
That was back at the office.
Back at your office?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they weren't like that when you found them?
Correct.
At the scene.
Correct.
Okay. And do I understand that the FBI had previously, your arrival?
Oh, Heather.
a tactical team out there?
From my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay, and they had busted in the window of that apartment,
I believe so.
and do you know whether or not they went into the apartment and moved all the stuff around before you got there?
I would assume that they made entry into the apartment, but further than that, I can only speculate.
Okay, and the condition that we see it in those photographs is not necessarily the condition it was in prior to the time the FBI tactical team went in there.
Correct.
And have you ever been on the fugitive division there in the Irving Police Department?
No, sir.
Okay, but you're familiar with the way they do things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They get laughed out of the department
See,
that they
this is
didn't
the
cover
problem.
back of the apartment when they're looking for somebody on their wanted list.
I would assume so.
That's all.
Anything else?
Nothing further for Detective Tall.
We have nothing further. We have no day.
All right, Detective, you're free to leave.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Wow.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes, you may. Call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, I missed who they called. That's my total fault. Because I sneezed. My bad. I'm sorry. Actually, Heather, this is pretty.
Do you swear that
Pretty
the
good.
testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Over there at Court TV, it's terrible. You can hardly understand anything anybody is saying, even if you have it all the way turned up. It is bad news bears. I usually am not a sneezer. I don't really have a lot of allergies, but for whatever reason, it's probably because all the rain last night. I didn't think about that.
Good morning, Agent. Is it Jimenez or Jimenez?
Correct.
With a G, or soft G or a hard G?
I do hard G, but.
Okay, I want to pronounce it properly. And would you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Daniel Jimenez. That's Daniel common spelling. Jimenez is G as in golf, I, M as in Mike, E, N as in Nancy, E, Z as in zebra.
Okay, Agent Jimenez, where are you currently employed?
I'm a supervisory special agent for the Public Corruption Unit in the Criminal Investigative Division in Washington, D.C., FBI.
The FBI, so that's your Federal Bureau of Investigation.
That's correct.
So would that make you a member of law enforcement?
Yes.
How long have you been with the FBI?
Over 8 years now.
And
how many?
Can you tell the jury a little bit about what's required of you to become a federal agent or an FBI agent?
Well, the FBI puts you through a basic law enforcement training at Quantico. Requirements include a 4-year bachelor's degree and various types of topics, along with at least, I don't remember, 3 or 4 years of professional experience in related fields.
So, Agent Jimenez, I have a pretty loud voice and I'm pretty hoarse, but we need you to use your outdoor voice today.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sorry about that.
It's the mask and it's not super well easy to hear in here, so I'm gonna ask you to speak up for me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I wanna make sure they hear everything you're saying and then the court gets it too. So, Agent Jimenez, when you told us you've been with them for 8 years, with the FBI for 8 years, are you currently stationed here in the Dallas office?
No, I know I'm not. I'm in Washington, D.C.
Have you been stationed in the Dallas office?
Yes, I was in Dallas since 2014 up until July of this year.
Oh, wow.
Now, when did you start with the FBI? What month?
In June of 2014.
Now, were you aware or were you part of the team that led to the capture of Yaser Said?
Yes, I was employed at the FBI and there in Dallas at the Violent Crimes Task Force as a special agent prior to my current position.
What types of investigations does the Violent Crimes Task Force handle?
The Dallas Violent Crimes Task Force of the FBI handles organized robberies, violent robberies, fugitive matters, organized crime in some respect, adult kidnappings, similar offenses.
We're not judging the face masks.
With matters.
That's actually my next
I guess
question.
it's a court ruling.
Are you aware of a parallel investigation going on with the Irving Police Department regarding the capture of Yaser Said, Said?
Yes.
And in fact, did the FBI also have its own?
We're just grateful the clear ones are being shown so we can still see faces.
Your agency and the Irving Police Department shared investigation tools and resources, but also information.
Yes.
Do you know an agent by the name of Laurie Gibbs?
I do.
Who is Laurie Gibbs?
Laurie Gibbs was the first primary case agent of the fugitive matter involving the defendant.
And
Okay, give me just a second, you guys. I'll be in chat, but I'm going to mute.
She did.
did she do a lot of the investigation and work up until her retirement?
Yes,
And then, do you know an agent by the name of Mario Berner?
I do.
Who
Yes.
is Mario Berner?
Mario Berna worked at the Dallas Violent Crimes Task Force as an agent, and he was also the supervisor there. He's still at the Dallas office.
And did he assist in, was he the lead case agent after Agent Gibbs retired?
Yes, he was.
And at some point, you said that you became the lead case agent, is that right?
Yes.
When did you take over as the lead case agent?
Pardon me.
That's okay, take your time.
So, in or about September of 2017 is when I took over the case as a primary case agent, lead
All right.
case agent.
So up until that point, when you became the lead case agent, did you aid and assist Agent Gibbs and Agent Berner in the looking for and capturing Yaser Said?
Yes.
Were you made aware that Yaser Said had been placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about how one can get on that list, what the process looks like?
The 10 Most Wanted program is managed by the Criminal Investigative Division out of the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. And that program has been around since the 50s. It was initially initiated to garner media attention to fugitives, those that have committed a state and a heinous crime that would make them eligible to get media attention and get public assistance and tips to locate a fugitive. The process is quite stringent. You have 56 field offices in the FBI, and each office has a fugitive program, respectively, and there's 10 slots in the program, and offices submit their candidacy to FBI headquarters, and it is up to FBI headquarters and executive management to make that decision on who gets placed on that list.
Are you aware of when the defendant was placed on the FBI top 10 most wanted fugitive list?
Yes, that was December 2014.
Were you with the agency at that time?
Yes.
Now, who was the lead case agent, if you recall?
Laurie Gibbs.
Laurie Gibbs. All right. Now, up until what year was it again? I'm sorry.
2014. Yes.
December of 2014. Up until December of 2014, was the FBI conducting this parallel investigation with the Urban Police Department to locate the defendant?
Yes.
Are you aware of multiple tips and things like that that were being filtered or processed or investigated in the pursuit of locating the defendant?
Yes.
Once the defendant was placed on this list, is it fair to say that a lot more tips came in, a lot more resources were available to the FBI and the Urban Police Department for that matter?
Yes.
Were those tips also filtered and processed and investigated?
Yes, they were.
Is it fair? Did you and your agency filter and process and investigate all of these tips?
Yes. Respectively, especially the ones that were very promising and led to something viable. Tips come from all over the country, sometimes simultaneously, but the ones that looked promising and had investigative leads, we followed up on.
Okay, and now that's important to say. Did you sometimes get some kind of crazy tips that didn't lead to anything?
Yes.
And when some tips were pretty viable and you would pursue.
Yes.
Now, I don't think I clarified this, but in order to be on the FBI top 10 most wanted list, was there a federal arrest warrant for the defendant before he was placed on that list?
Yes. So the case would, yes, that there has to be a federal arrest warrant for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. That's a U.S. statute, 18 U.S.C. 1073. and then the case has to be unsealed before the defendant can be placed on the list.
So there was an active warrant for this defendant for unlawful, I'm sorry, tell me the state one more time.
Unlawful flight to avoid
To
prosecution.
avoid prosecution. All right, and so did your agency ever file a murder charge for this defendant?
No.
Why not?
Murder charges are handled at the state level for the most part. There is a murder statute at the federal level. I believe that's 18 USC 1111, but that's handled in special circumstances and venues. For example, in maritime jurisdictions or Native American reservations, military installations, where the federal government has immediate and direct jurisdiction.
Okay, so in this case, the facts did not support a federal murder warrant, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, but you did have sufficient evidence and probable cause to be able to pursue an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant for this defendant.
Yes.
And so that warrant's issued, do you know when that would have been issued, that warrant?
That warrant was issued in August of 2008.
Okay, so about 8 months after Amina and Sarah Said were murdered.
Correct.
All right.
Roughly.
And Agent Gibbs would have been the lead on the case at that time.
Yes.
Now, you had an opportunity to review Agent Gibbs's file and Agent Berner's files and their supplements, is that right?
Yes.
Did you, when you became the case agent, did you review those and attempt to follow up and kind of start afresh?
Yes.
Tell the jury how, if you told us earlier that Agent Berner is still with the FBI and still at the Dallas office, why is it that Agent Berner didn't continue to maintain his position as the lead case agent?
Agent Verno was promoted to supervisory special agent, and he was assigned to a different squad. Supervisory special agents are not directly involved in investigating cases, in Dallas at least. So the case had to go to someone in the squad, in the program.
And so that's how you got assigned.
That's correct.
And when did you get assigned to that, to the lead case agent?
That would be in or about September of 2017, roughly.
Now, were you still with the squad in August of 2017?
Yes.
Were you aware of a lead at the Copper Canyon Apartments in Bedford, Texas?
Yes.
On August 14th, 2017?
Yes.
And what were you made aware of at that time?
I was made aware that there was a sighting of the defendant at the defendant's son's apartment at the Copper Canyon Apartments by a maintenance worker. And members of the squad, to include myself, we had already spoken to the manager in months or years prior and had built a relationship in the event that there was a tip or a lead that came out of that residence, that she would hopefully call the FBI and provide that information.
So with regards to this, actually, you know what, Turner, may I approach?
You may.
Before we kind of go into specifics about Copper Canyon, let me show you State's Exhibit number 6. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 6?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit number 6?
It is a link chart or family tree of some members associated to the defendant.
And so do we have a photograph of the defendant, his wife, Patricia Owens, their date of birth, their 3 children, Islam, Amina, and Sarah Said?
Yes.
And then there's an individual by Yaser Said. Do you know who that is?
Yes. Yaser Said is the defendant's brother, one of the defendant's brother.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state's going to offer State's Exhibit number 6. Senator and Defense Counsel for objections.
I would object to hearsay, Your Honor. The entirety of this, these are all out-of-court statements that were put on this exhibit. Did you create this exhibit?
I did not.
Your Honor, it's hearsay and inadmissible.
It's a summary of the evidence that has been presented. I can certainly ask the detective about, or the agent about the girl's date of birth, their photographs, the witnesses have already testified. Yaser Said, I think, is the only person we haven't inquired about as far as his date of birth. It's a summary of the evidence that's already been presented, Your Honor.
May I take the witness number for the argument?
You may.
Special Agent, did you create this?
No, I did not.
Do you know who created it?
I do not.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, we would object to hearsay under 801 and admissible under 802, and also improper foundation. This is something that was created by the district attorney's office for the purpose of this testimony, but he has no prior knowledge of this exhibit. So it's hearsay, the contents on it are hearsay, and the photos on it are considered hearsay and should be introduced.
Photographs not hearsay, Your Honor. First of all. Second of all, I can establish with this witness what Yaser Said's birthday is, because I don't believe that evidence has come out. But I do believe under under Texas Rules of Evidence, 1006, summaries to prove content, that this exhibit is permissible. We can also offer for most purposes at this time. That's the case.
Does the defense have any objections to this exhibit be intended for record purposes?
Demonstrative purposes.
Demonstrative, sorry.
Your Honor, I would just reurge the hearsay objections, and if it's appropriate according to the court for demonstrative purposes, then.
All right, the court will admit the exhibit for record purposes only.
For record purposes or demonstrative purposes?
For record purposes only, unless the state lays more foundation regarding some of the
Yes, sir.
depicted individuals.
I can, okay. Agent Jimenez, do you know the date of birth for Yaser Said?
I don't have it memorized, but roughly I
Okay.
do.
Do you recall what it was?
Yes, that looks like his date of birth,
What was it?
July 17th, 1961.
Okay. Now, and Agent Jimenez, can you tell the jury a little bit about, did you investigate the defendant's family and the years that this investigation went on?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell the jury who the defendant's brothers are?
Yes, defendant's brothers are Yaser Said, as noted. There's Mohsen Said, Yaser Said, and then the defendant also has a sister,
What is her name?
Gada Said.
Were Mohsen, Yusri, and Yaser Said, did they live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes,
Did the FBI conduct surveillance on their family, those respective brothers and their families?
yes,
Did this FBI conduct surveillance on his home site?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state's going to ask that State's Exhibit 6 be admitted for all purposes at this time.
Does the defense still have an objection?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt. We would reurge the hearsay objection, Your Honor, and furthermore, Texas Rule of Evidence 1005 is not for general admissibility. It is a best evidence admission, argument, or exception. It does not qualify here. Although he has investigated this, we don't believe that he's the best witness to provide this family diagram, which includes a number of hearsay statements. For those reasons, we would argue that it is prohibited from being admitted to evidence.
Thank you. Any further argument?
I would re-urge 1006, Judge. It says the proponent may use a summary chart of calculations to report the contents of the mixed writings, recordings, or photographs. It cannot be conveniently examined in court, but it must make the originals or duplicates available for examination. The copy or both by the parties at a reasonable time and place. And the court may order that the proponent produce them, which we have done.
Thank you. State's Exhibit number 6 is admitted for demonstrative purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish.
You may.
Okay, now we get to see. Hopefully. I'm not a fan of poster board picture evidence. We have better technology than this now. PowerPoint is best. Especially, see, given the size of that huge screen there. Yeah. But I have to say, Mr. Said's attorneys are doing a fantastic job of advocating on behalf of their clients.
Let's talk about State's Exhibit 6 here.
They're going hard in the paint for sure.
His date of birth, January 27, 1957. Was he spouse, and who was he married to at the time that Amina and Sarah died?
Patricia Owen Said.
Okay, and that we see her photograph here.
Correct.
They had 3 children: Yaser Said, Amina Said, and Sarah Said.
That's correct.
And then we see a photograph of Yaser Said. This is the brother that we were speaking about.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to Copper Canyon for just a second. Were you made aware who the registered owner of the apartment was? I believe it was 348. 348.
Yes.
Who was the registered owner?
Islam Said.
Now, was the FBI conducting regular surveillance of Islam Said?
Right. Yes.
And were you able to obtain a copy of the lease for the Copper Canyon apartments?
Yes.
And did it appear that he had rented that apartment back on August 1st, 2016?
Yes, it sounds right.
Now, Agent Jimenez, you talked about how you spoke to the apartment manager, or your agency spoke to the apartment manager. Did you notify them that the FBI was looking into Islam Said, more specifically looking into the apprehension of Yaser Said?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
In hopes that if the apartment manager would elect to cooperate with the FBI, she would provide a tip whenever something suspicious would occur, and then we would be able to follow up on that tip, ultimately to locate and capture the defendant.
Okay. Now, were y'all, the FBI, in regular communication with the apartment manager of Coppergate?
Yes.
And at any point, did he provide information that there may have been possible sighting for Yaser Said?
Yes.
And would that have been the August 17th date that I just mentioned?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
2017.
Correct.
Do you recall her name?
I'm going to say her name is Mary Michelle.
Michelle Jones?
Yes.
All right. Now,
Mary Michelle, Michelle
you were an
Jones,
agent by the name of Grant
tomato,
Clement.
tomato.
Yes.
Who is Agent Clement?
Grant Permanent right now, he's a supervisor at the Dallas FBI office. At the time when the sighting occurred in August of 2017, he was assigned to the Violent Crimes Task Force with myself and others.
Did he go out to the apartment at Copper Canyon upon receipt of this information from Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Are you aware of whether he went by himself or with any other agent?
He went with others.
And was the FBI able to apprehend the defendant at that time?
No.
And can you tell the jury about why that might have been?
Because by the time that the sighting had occurred and the FBI, along with its partners, Irving Police Department, were able to obtain a search warrant to gain entry to the apartment, the defendant had escaped sometime in between that time.
Okay. And so was the Irving Police Department notified that there was a sighting for Yaser Said?
Yes.
Did they appear on scene?
Yes.
Are you aware of evidence being collected from Islam Said's apartment, apartment 348?
Yes.
Are you aware of a pair of glasses being collected?
Yes.
Do you know if any analysis was done on those glasses?
Yes.
Can you tell us about what kind of analysis was done?
DNA kinship analysis. I was the one that actually sent that evidence to the Quantico lab, along with a DNA buccal swab of saliva.
Sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to cough in your ear.
Patricia Owens and the dry blood of the deceased victims, along with the evidence collected. Various types of evidence was collected on that day in August 2017. And the Quantico lab conducted DNA kinship analysis to determine the DNA profile of the father of the deceased victim.
So well, we're going to just back up so we can explain what kinship analysis is to the jurors. Y'all had a buccal swab from Patricia's side.
Correct.
And what is a buccal swab? Because I don't know that we've actually explained this to the jurors yet.
Sure. So it sometimes looks like a Q-tip, and it's just taken and rubbed on the inside cheek or gums, and then air dried momentarily, and it's just saliva that's then secured within cardboard breathable space, and then maintained in a cool space or relatively cool space to then determine a DNA profile from that specimen.
Because she would be a known standard. We took a
Correct.
from Patricia's side.
Correct.
What about Amina and Sarah? Were those blood standards taken from the medical examiner's office from the autopsy conducted on the girls?
Correct.
And then this pair of glasses, we talked about kinship analysis. At that time, did you have a buccal swab of the defendant, Yaser Said?
No, not at the time.
Okay. So were the samples taken from Amina and Sarah Said, along with the buccal swab from Patricia Owens, were they subsequently tested against those glasses?
Yes.
And you know, everyone I think understands, at least basically understands genetics in terms of DNA. We get our DNA from half from our mom.
Is there a question in there,
right?
counselor?
Correct.
So it was sort of a process. Was it a process of elimination with regards to the kinship analysis as a result?
Yes, so to speak.
And were y'all able to assess who that unknown profile was?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was of the father of the deceased victims.
And that would be Yaser Said.
Yes.
Now, after you take over as the lead case agent, so this happens, so that Copper Canyon happens in August of 2017. You become the lead case agent in September of 2017. Do you go through any more leads in the process of your investigation?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? What did
Sure. Shortly after the apartment incident in Bedford, I learned that Islam Said discontinued the use of his cell phone approximately
Yes, Your Honor, objection to hearsay. His testimony was false, requires evidence that's not been admitted. And that evidence itself would have several hearsay objections if the state attempted to present it. They're trying to backdoor all this cell phone information without laying the proper predicate or actually introducing any of this evidence. So we would object under hearsay rules.
What's the state's response?
Well, Judge, I'm asking what he did next. Yeah, he hasn't testified to what the cell phone evidence was that he obtained. He only testified that he obtained the cell phone information and then we didn't, and then what he did next with it. He's not talking about the contents of what the cell phone records contain. And that's where the hearsay objection would be proper.
May I respond?
Yes, you may.
First of all, I believe that was a misrepresentation by the state. He had already gone into an explanation about the status of the cell phone.
He's right.
It would have required the evidence that they have failed to produce. So I believe that her statement that he has not gone into anything and she was merely asking about whatever is a misrepresentation of what has happened here. Furthermore, I believe that if they want to get into any of it, they need to do it the right way. They need to get that evidence, they need to present it, lay that foundation, hold the proper witnesses, and get that in before they're trying to backdoor all this position. So I object to 801 and 802 in the rules of evidence.
All right, the state is not to go into the contents of the cell phone.
You're wrong. Yes, sir.
The objection in that regard is sustained. Disregard what testimony?
Last day. Yes, the content of that last statement he gave before the objections.
Ms. Holt, what was the last statement? I don't believe I heard.
He said that the cell phone was shut off.
The very last statement was shortly after, or the answer,
Yes.
shortly after the apartment incident in Bedford, I learned that Islam Said discontinued the use of his cell phone approximately, and then objection.
So
That's not saying anything about the contents of the cell phone.
may I respond to that specifically, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
In order for them to know whether that cell phone is still in use, it would require the cell phone records that I keep referring to in the objection. There's no way that he can make that statement without having reviewed hearsay documents that are not before this jury. Before this court.
Your objection is overruled. The state is not to go into the contents of the cell phone.
Understood, Ron. Thank you. So.
Oh, wow.
Islam Said turns off his phone. Are you able to track him?
Your Honor, I object.
We-
We just went into, again, there's no way that this officer can possibly know that information without hearsay statements. He does not have possession of that phone. He does not have ownership of that phone. He has no way without hearsay statements. I mean, that answer, her attempt to elicit that testimony requires, it depends on hearsay statements for him to answer this question affirmatively or negatively.
Your objection is overruled.
All right, let me ask a question again. After you learned that Islam Said had turned off his phone, did you do anything with that information?
Yep.
I would object to both counsels.
Sustained, one person at a time from each desk. And I've said that before. Who is going to make the objections?
I will, Your Honor.
Okay,
And
thank
we
you.
would- we
All right.
request for any objection.
That's noted.
Okay, let me ask the question again. After Islam Said turned off his phone, what did you do with that?
This is going to be a long trial, you guys.
We learned that Yaser Said and two others
apologize for having to continue to do this, but this,
You don't need to apologize, you're doing your job, go ahead.
he is again, they're shifting from one set of hearsay documents to the next. He's about to go into an entirely different individual's cell phone, which is an entirely different set of hearsay statements. And it's just them trying to backdoor hearsay for this witness. So we object, A01 and A02.
The objection, I think, is premature considering he hasn't even articulated what he's about to, what he did next. That was what my question elicited, and he's articulating simply that. So the defense objecting to hearsay is just preemptive, and it's intended to disrupt the proceedings as thus far. He has not articulated any hearsay at this point, and it is, as I said, preemptive and premature.
All right, and your objection is noted as a running objection. The state has been instructed not to go into any contents of any cell phones.
May I add one more?
Yes, go ahead.
I object to the sidebar comments about me as an individual and my intent to raise objections during this testimony from co-counsel. It's inappropriate, and I would object to any additional sidebar comments.
That's sustained.
All right, may I proceed?
You may.
Thank you. So, Agent Jimenez, Islam Said turns off his phone. What do you do next?
We learned various things.
There you go.
Yaser Said and two others show up at the apartment the day after and complain about what had happened at the apartment.
The complaint holds for hearsay. If the officer Said is complaining, if the individual
Oh boy.
complaining is calling for hearsay.
I
that
mean, he's
complaint
right,
is
but it's
hearsay.
annoying.
Sustained.
On August 15th, 2007, are you made aware of whether or not Yaser Said went to the apartment?
I hope you
Yes.
guys are taking notes of
And,
these
did
attorneys'
Yaser
names
Said
because they're doing a heck of a job.
Said's belongings?
Yes.
Are you aware of there being a
In case you ever need attorneys. I hope you never do, but
Yes.
these attorneys are doing an amazing job.
Yaser Said and two others are upset at what happened at the search warrant executed at the apartment. Yaser had a power of attorney to collect the keys of the apartment and clear out anything that needed to be cleared out. Islam Said had abandoned all his belongings at the apartment. Let's say less than a week after that, Islam Said and an associate of the family, Hani Medhad Abdulgawad, crossed the border into Canada from Michigan at Windsor Bridge.
So let's talk about that. Now, the FBI, do you have relationships with other members of federal agencies within the United States government?
Yes.
Is there an agency known as CBP or Customs Border Patrol?
Yes.
What is the responsibility of the CBP?
Generally to monitor and police the
It's
U.S.
like
border.
everyone
and
has
its
to be
entries.
masked. Vincent's missing ear, and they decided clear masks so you can still see facial expressions.
Country of Canada.
Yes.
And welcome. I'm glad to see you.
Was that very shortly after this incident on August 14th, 2017?
Yes.
Do you know about when that might have happened?
It had to be within a week, but I don't remember exactly.
So very, very close in time, approximately.
Yes.
Are you aware of whether Islam Said came back and retrieved his belongings, personally came back? And
No,
retrieved his
he did
belongings?
not.
And you told us that Yaser Said, his uncle, Yaser Said's brother, had power of attorney to retrieve those belongings.
Yes.
Do you know if Mr. Yaser Said was able to retrieve those belongings?
I don't know what he would. No, he would have had access to everything, including the search warrant return.
How were you notified that Islam Said had crossed the border into Canada?
Through channels of the government agency, CBP.
Hearsay. These are statements about what was going on in a place that he was not at. He was not at the location. He did not have any personal knowledge to it, and they're relying on hearsay documents to establish this testimony.
I don't know that. Wow.
Were you continuing?
1 second. You all right, Ms. Holt?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
No problem, Patty. Let me know when you're ready. Agent Jimenez, were you continuing to surveil or keep an eye out on Islam Said?
Well, the answer to that is no, because we didn't know where he was.
So up until he crossed the border, you said at Windsor,
Correct.
after he crossed the border at Windsor, were you able to figure out where he was?
He eventually came back,
Okay.
and I want to say it was approximately 6 months after. And I learned that he, through my own investigation.
The entirety of this testimony. If they want to call the agent who handled this part of the investigation, has personal knowledge about it, put him on the stand and go through that, then that is the state's choice. But it is improper for them to continue over and over and over again to try and elicit inadmissible hearsay evidence through this witness about various parts of the investigation.
The court reporter is choking, y'all.
All right, we'll deal with this objection when Ms. Rose recovers, and then break for lunch.
Ms. Alonso, can you repeat what you said?
Yes, go ahead.
Judge, experts can rely on their hearsay. We've listed actually Agent Jimenez as an expert. He can rely on his hearsay and he can rely on what he did, and he articulated what he personally knew. So in light of that, I do believe he's entitled to testify to that, to testify to what he was aware of and what he knew at the time of his investigation.
Under 702, this witness was never proffered to this court as an expert in anything. So their testimony about him being an expert in investigation is inaccurate. He cannot get this into expert testimony. Furthermore, it is all hearsay, and they have subpoena power. This young man came from Washington, D.C. If they care enough about what he's talking about, they can get the gentleman, the special agent, who did everything that he's talking about.
Gosh.
Come before this jury. It's a violation of his confrontation rights, his Crawford confrontation rights, and it is improper for them to
Put a 1 in the chat if you know what
bring
that
all this
is.
stuff in through this one witness. There's a way to do this, and they're skipping those steps.
All right, was this witness given to the defense as an expert witness? Okay.
Can I respond to that, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
Just because a witness is listed as an expert does not automatically
Not seen any
qualify them.
ones.
According
Y'all
to
don't
the
know
rules
what
of
a
evidence,
Crawford
as an expert,
confrontation
he must be
was.
proffered during testimony as an expert. They have never proffered this witness as an expert. He is simply an agent of the FBI who's here to testify about his investigation, his personal knowledge. That it is.
We'll talk about it when they break for lunch.
During that time, not the rest of the country.
All right, the defense's objection is sustained regarding hearsay. This is a good time to break for lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to release you for lunch. Please be back at 1 o'clock. And you continue to be under the court's instructions regarding publicity.
All right. So, in the United States, you are permitted, Vincent knows, you have the right to confront your accusers. So, the defense does not want Mr. Jimenez to be testifying about another agent's investigation, even if Agent Jimenez is aware and was part of the investigation, but not the person doing the actual investigation, meaning he was apprised of the results of an investigation, but he was not the agent conducting the investigation firsthand. Okay. So if he's going to be testifying to this other investigation that he has learned the results of, Mr. Said has the right to cross-examine the actual agent, which is what they're saying. So he shouldn't be talking about what that agent's investigation, what the results were of that investigation, even because Mr. Jimenez was not it's not his firsthand investigation. Does that make sense? So what they're saying is, if you want to talk about this investigation, then you need to go and get the agent who handled the investigation and put him on the stand so that we, as Mr. Said's legal representatives, have an opportunity to cross-examine, which is the confronting part of your accuser. So there you go. That's what that means. Learn something new every day. If you didn't know, now you do. How'd I do Vincent's missing ear? Did I explain that well? Oh boy. Okay, you guys. So they're going to break for lunch. This is where I leave y'all. I will be finishing the testimony from tonight, because I want to see if and when this medical examiner is going to be called. She's no longer a medical examiner with Dallas County. I don't know if she's still working as a medical examiner or not, but she's not with Dallas County, and there was some fireworks in the courtroom about her testimony. She was questioned outside of the presence of the jury. The defense is alleging that aside from making an incorrect notation on a timesheet after she resigned, the forensic pathologist who took over for her caseload, who received her caseload, has said there's allegations that some of her autopsies, there was some improprieties there. And so there was a back and forth, and that she's potentially on a Brady list. And there's more. And the defense is alleging that the issues surrounding her being on this Brady list and some improper findings during her autopsies they were only given that portion of her voir dire, I suppose it would be, July 15th of 2022, and the trial started August 1st, 2022. So they're alleging a Brady violation and move for a mistrial, which then resulted in the medical examiner asking if she could call her attorney, and she was allowed to call her attorney. And then they were given a 15-minute break. And at the end of the 15-minute break, she was still on the phone with her attorney, and the judge said that she could have her attorney on standby for cross-examination. And then they ended up calling, this would be the third now, witness that is not the medical examiner. So I'm very interested in the medical examiner's direct testimony, but also the medical examiner's cross-examination. As you can see, the cross-examinations have been fairly contentious, and I would imagine that when they finish on direct and begin cross-examination after lunch, it will again be contentious. And so I know you guys will want to watch that tonight, as will I, so we'll watch it together. On Saturday morning, I'm going live to do a part 2 of the Damien Echols, What He Knew and When. And then Saturday night, I'm going to cover more of this trial because we started late. And I want you guys to hear the opening statements. I want you guys to hear the girl's mother's testimony. All those are important. So we'll be caught up for Monday. Sound like a plan? All right. I hope so. Thank you guys all for being here. I always enjoy you guys. Such a cool chat. Best chat on these YouTube streets, bar none. And I will see you guys tonight. All right. Take it easy. Bye.